Franchising is the way most people start their businesses, different industries, and in different ways. And today on the Tech Your Business podcast, we are going to talk franchising with our guest, Greg Mohr. So, welcome to the show, Greg.
Peter, thank you for having me today, sir. It's an honor.
All right. So, can you just tell us a bit about your journey? Because I was doing a bit of research and I saw that you went from an engineer to a franchise expert. So, can you just tell us how you ended up here?
Absolutely, Peter. So I actually got my start in franchising back when I was in high school, and I went to work for Taco Bell. First job, fast food. A lot of people do that. And I found out I worked for a master franchisor at the time. So I moved up in the Taco Bell world, and I was managing her restaurant. She had about 50 Taco Bells throughout the Sacramento, California area. So it was my first foray into franchising. Really fun, really easy. Step into any Taco Bell, and you run it all the same way. Got the playbook there. So fast forward a few years later, 15 years in restaurant management, 15 years then as an engineer. I went to school, got a degree in electrical engineering and business and physics. Became a microelectronic circuit engineer. Did that, got my MBA degree, and while I was getting my MBA degree, a friend of mine and myself, we bought a dry cleaners, privately owned dry cleaners, rental properties, storage units. Ran that for a while, but then we both left our corporate careers after a while. So about 15 years in the engineering field. Read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Ruined my corporate career for me. That was the end of it. So I thought as I got out, I had to do something. And that privately owned business was a bit of a challenge because, neither one of us knew anything about dry cleaning. We had to figure it out all ourselves. Well, it's like, I
Yeah.
got to do something else. I really like that franchising thing. So I said, I got to get back into that. So I started looking for different franchises to do, sold off all my shares of my stuff to my partner over there. He ran the dry cleaners, did all that. And I found a franchise consultant after, a couple of weeks of clicking on everything on the internet, trying to figure out what to do. Got a hold of a franchise consultant. He got me into a really great franchise system, a Scully Mitchell telecommunications consulting franchise. Love doing that. That was a lot of fun. But after a while, I thought, what that franchise consultant was doing was even more fun because, with my franchise, I drove around and talked to business people all the time, but he didn't have to drive around. So I thought, better use of my time. No driving around, work from home, all sorts of wonderful people out there to work with. I went back to him and said, teach me what you do. I want to do that. That was 10, 12 years ago, and I haven't looked back since.
Oh, that's great. And I think when you mentioned Richard Potter, I actually laughed because that was the first book I read actually that started my mind going around being in business and all that. So that's what, yeah. So for listeners who might be new to the concept, I know almost everyone knows what a franchise is. But for those who might just have an idea but not really clear what it is, can you just explain what exactly a franchise is for those people?
Absolutely, Peter. So, what franchising is when you are an aspiring or ambitious entrepreneur, you want to get into your own business, you don't know what to do, you don't have the latest, greatest idea. For franchising, what happens is you have a playbook. You have a step by step playbook that the franchisor has for you. The franchisor who created that business, who created that franchise, has already made all the mistakes that need to be made, already got everything ironed out as far as exactly what to do, who to contact, how to build that business. So they've got that playbook for you and they're going to teach you how to do it. So basically, what you're doing is you're leasing a business model with a franchise. It's the lease of a business model that says you run this business model this way, and your chances of success are that much greater. So you want to look at a franchise that has duplicated their system a few times, so you know that they've done it in different cities and different states, so you know they've proven out that model, and you want to you want that franchise to show you that you're never going to be guessing or wondering what do I do next because they've got that whole system down pat for you. So that's basically in a nutshell what a franchise is, step by step playbook of exactly what you need to do to get that business up and running, a business in a box.
Interesting. So, because now when you talk about it that way, what I'm used to, I think most of us are used to in business is starting something out without knowing much about it and just figuring it about along the way. But here with the franchise now, you say it's you have a business in the box, you have a playbook, you have the processes and everything to run that business. So, is this something that's everybody can do because looking at the playbook and all that, I know the typical business person is not really into rules and yes. So is this something that everyone can do?
Just about everyone, Peter. So if you're thinking about the fact that you want to become a franchisee and you want to invest in a franchise, there are a couple of things that you're going to need to have to do it. Just a few basic things. One, you're going to have to be coachable because that's what the franchise is going to do, is going to coach you. Okay, so you have to be able to be coachable, know that you're going to have a mentor and that you're going to follow their step-by-step playbook on that. Second thing is you do have to be a little bit risk averse because there's going to be a bit of a risk involved in a business. In any business, there's always risk involved on that one. And you're going to be sacrificing some of your time and some of your money for that. So you have to be willing to do that. Now, you don't have to do them all full time. There's many different franchises that you can do semi-absentee where you're putting in 10 to 15 hours a week on that. But you've got to be at that point where you're looking at the end goal. What are you trying to get out of this franchise? What are you trying to get out of this business itself? And you might have to sacrifice a few things along the way. If you don't want to quit your day job, you don't want to get rid of your other business that you're running, you're still going to be putting some time into it. So you've got to be at that point in time in your life that you're willing to invest that money, to take that time out of your day to get that business running. You got to be coachable, okay? And you have to have a little bit of risk aversion as well, and just know that there's a little bit of risk involved as always. But that's why you get into a franchise system, for reducing that risk. And the more franchisees that franchise has, the less risk you're taking because you know they've done it so many times over and over again.
Okay, so you have to be coachable, you have to be risk averse, and invest your time and money into it. So while we're making that explanation, you said something about the semi-absentee franchise. So can you just explain a bit what that is about?
Absolutely, Peter. So what you're looking at there is that there are many different franchises that you can run semi-absentee in many different industries. Just about every industry, there's a semi-absentee one. So what you're going to be doing is your role is going to be to manage that manager and manage those profit and loss statements. That is your role in that business. Generally 10 to 15 hours a week, but that depends on your management skill and style. The franchise is not necessarily going to find that manager for you, but they will show you how to go about doing it, what to look for in a manager, and quite often what to look for in potential employees, how to go find them, how to look for them. But if you're a real micromanager, you may be putting in more than 10 to 15 hours a week, just depending on how you want to operate that. But what you want to do along the way is when you're looking at a franchise and you're investigating that and you want to run it semi-absentee, once you get to that point where you're talking to other franchise owners, other franchisees within that system, you want to make certain that you talk to those ones that are doing it semi-absentee so you can get a real picture of what does that semi-absentee look like. Is it 10 to 15 hours a week? Is it 20? Is it 5? But get a really good picture of exactly, what do you got to do to build you up to that point? How long does it take you to get there? What are you really looking at for a time investment? But generally speaking, Peter, 10, 15 hours a week is a good ballpark figure to take a look at.
Okay, so that's a great explanation and it covers all the bases for that. So, talking about the topic of the podcast, technology, how have you seen technology change in this franchising landscape over time, especially in the past few years? What are the new things you've seen and cool?
Peter, there's just a lot of apps out there that can do it. So if you're really, into technology and you're looking to a franchise, uh, look for ones that have embraced those apps on there. So a lot of them, with the food industry itself, or the restaurants and stuff, you can order click, click, click ahead of time on that app, so that when you get to that restaurant, your food's right and ready for you. Especially if you're going to take takeout, just do the app and run it when you do it that way. Some of the hair salons, same way. You want to set up your appointment, you've got that app right there with the hair salon as well. So from a consumer's point of view, what you're looking at is you're looking at that franchise to make that as simple as possible for your customers, for your potential customers, to utilize your services or your products on there. So as they embrace the apps, they do that. From a franchisee point of view, a business owner point of view, what you're looking at there is making sure that franchise has developed a lot of the different systems in place, maybe some artificial intelligence things that can go out and do some advertising, marketing for you, lead generation systems for you on a regular basis. So it reduces the amount of time that you or your people have to go out there and generate clients and customers and business for themselves on that. So you really want to make certain that in this day and age, when most people are using some apps or their cell phones, in most cases, is that you want to make certain that that franchise has embraced those and is utilizing those types of apps, electronic services, artificial intelligence, that it simplifies your process so that it's really saving you time to be more creative and to do the things that you like to do, which is, employee management and business management.
Okay. So now earlier you talked about this franchise model being a playbook, meaning when you buy a franchise, you get all the tools, you get the systems, you get the processes and everything included in it. But a lot of the time, you have a case, especially in businesses, independent, this typical business, where they maybe use this technology tool or this app or whatever, and it's not really, and they later find out that there's a better one. So with the franchise model, how do they handle changing or getting these new technologies on board? At what level? Is it at the franchisees or yeah, something like that?
Most often, what happens, Peter, is that the franchisees within the franchise system itself come up with ideas on that when they see things happening. So, when you get into a franchise, the first thing you want to do is just follow their model step by step. Okay, don't try and do anything strange or different on that because they've already developed that system. They've already developed that plan. I've had people do that, didn't always work out too well when they got a little too creative to begin with. So follow their model, follow their processes. As you go, you will find that there may be some things that the franchise isn't doing that you know about. So what you'll do is you'll let the franchise know, I've seen this new app that's out there. It looks like it's working pretty good, and I think we can apply it to our business here. What they generally do is they'll say, okay, you try it out on that. So you'll be the one that goes out and gives it a shot. Most franchises are very open to you developing new things as long as they see it's going to help the overall franchise system as a whole on that one. So you'll try that out, and then maybe you'll get a couple other franchisees because you'll make a lot of friends with other franchisees along the way as you investigate the franchise.
Yeah.
Everybody works together as a team. So you may get a couple other team members to say, hey, let's try out this new app. Let's see how this works and see if we can develop it into our business to make our lives simpler, bring in more business. So very easy to be very creative with different electronics, different apps, different programs that are out there. And franchisors are generally very supportive of people, their franchisees, trying new and different things on a limited basis until they've proven it out that it is good, and then they'll implement it, system wide.
I think I've always been curious about that, so I think that answered my question on that. So when a lot of people want to pick a franchise to work with, a lot of them, yeah, they already have an idea. Okay, I want to maybe work with Taco Bell or whatever. Then for some people, they have a lot of options they have to weigh to pick from. So, what are the biggest mistakes you've seen people make when considering the franchise they want to pick?
One of the biggest things that I see people make is that they're looking at things that are popular at the moment. So in fashion, people really love it. They say, oh, it's great and it's busy. That's fine. It may last forever. It may not. I mean, Orange Theory was one that just started out. And look at it, shot up and it took off all over the place. We had yogurt shops. It was very fashionable at the time. Yogurt shops are now out of fashion, and we've had a lot of them go out of business. We had a huge amount of yogurt shops on there. So know what that business model is. You don't need to necessarily know the industry to begin with on that, but get to know that industry and really get to know that business is how are they making money? Where do they see themselves going in the future? So be careful about what's in fashion now to make certain that it's still going to be going and you can still see it as something that people will use into the future. Always take a look at funding options. You can fund with your own money, you can fund with other people's money, but keep the funding options in mind because undercapitalized is where most businesses fail when they don't have enough income on that. Check what the net worth requirements are for that franchise that you're looking at and make certain that you have that net worth as well. Free resources are always a good thing to look for. I encourage people to go with their local SCORE chapter, SCORE. There's usually a local SCORE chapter in every town. I used them when I first started and I was looking at franchises. I ran a few ideas by them. They're your local business people in your area that have been in business for a long time, and they're free service. They'll help you out and they'll take a look at the business and see if it's any good for that area itself. Chamber of Commerce, also good people to go to since you're going to have to join the Chamber of you don't have to, but you should join the Chamber of Commerce anyway because you want to become part of the community. So check with them as well. That's just a few of the different things to look out for. when you're getting into the business. One other thing I should mention though, is that I just talked about when you going through the process of investigating that franchise, is talking with other franchisees. Always talk with as many franchisees as you can before you invest in that business. You want to talk to so many of them that you start hearing the same thing over and over again. Hopefully good. If it's not, time to move on. Hopefully good. But not only do you get a good feel for the business that way in the franchise, but those are all your friends. For the most part, about 95% of the time, uh, franchises give out a protected territory. So the franchisees aren't competing with each other on that. So these are friends that you're going to make along the way. And these are going to be people, not only the franchise, but the other franchisees are going to help you build that business up as well.
Okay, I think that's so you should know the industry, you should not run after popular things, you should know the business model, know how they make money, you should know that it's something that will be there for a long term. Then you look at the check SURE and your local chamber of commerce, and also talk to other franchises. So I think with that, it's really, really difficult to go wrong.
You got it, Peter. Exactly.
Yeah. So looking at technology, I know you mentioned the technology for booking with the salons and co, and you mentioned the one for making AI and whatever. So looking over the next maybe 5 or 10 years, what technology do you think would have the biggest impact on franchising in the future?
I think that AI technology, where you use it intelligently, is a good way to do it. Uh, a lot of the automated services where you find that you're doing things yourself over and over again, you want to do things that are more automated. Uh, Newsletters, for instance, you're in the local community, you want to let people know what's going on. You want a great service that's going to develop a nice newsletter for you. Uh, I went into business and I was an engineer in a past life. English is not always has not always been perfect for me on that, even though it's my first language. But putting coherent sentences together, sometimes I can do it in my head, but when I put it down in paper, it doesn't always come out the way I want. So that's where a good AI technology puts it into where it's actually a coherent sentence, so people don't think I'm an idiot. That is a good way to do things, especially with those newsletters, getting things out in front of people on a regular basis. Anything that you find that you're doing repetitively over and over again, I do believe that AI will be able to come up with things. Again, you use it intelligently on that, not to do everything for you, not to tell you what to say, but you say it and then you just make it so it forms better in more coherent sentences and get that out to people on a regular basis. And if people have questions and you find that people have had a lot of the same questions about your business or your services, then you might have an automated system where you see that some of that now, and I think that will expand out even more where they need to ask questions. So you can get some of those basic questions answered up front on that one, so that they don't necessarily have to go to a person. You don't necessarily have to put a person in place and pay somebody to
Yeah.
answer those questions on a regular basis. Where you put together, like you've got that WebMD type thing, where if you got this ailment, it might be this. You got this. It can't do everything for you. You don't want that AI system to tell you, it's time to get something cut out of your system when you really shouldn't. But a lot of the basic questions that you have on that, and that's why I wrote a book, because I had a lot of people write or ask me the same questions over and over again. So I wrote a
Yeah.
book about it and said, read this. You got questions? Read this first, and then if it looks like it's a good thing for you and you're still interested, give me a call. And that's a great way to do it with the systems you have in place. Answer their questions. Do you really need this service? Here's a list of questions. If you're going through there and then on the AI systems and it says, wow, it sounds like you really do need it, and then you realize that after you get all your questions answered, I really do need it, then you can talk to somebody in person. But as a business owner, you're saving a lot of time and money if you can have a lot of the basic questions answered up front. I think that's going to go even further and a long way towards helping businesses grow.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Using AI intelligently and as a tool, which it is, and automating everything that you find yourself doing over and over again. So, you talked about your book. You talked about a book you wrote. So, can you just tell us what the book is about and maybe the title of the book?
Yeah, so I wrote my book, Real Freedom: Why Franchises Are Worth Considering and How They Can Be Used for Building Wealth. That one, after doing this for about 10, 12 years, again, I had a lot of the same questions that people were asking me over and over again. So I thought, why don't I just put it down in a book so it walks everybody step by step through how to investigate a franchise. What you and I will go through together to not only find franchises that are a good fit, but then to go through and investigate those franchises to make certain that one, franchising is right for you to begin with, and that if it is, which franchise is right for you. So he walks you through all those, like the 7 mistakes I have in there, takes you through all those. I've got questions for the franchisors and the franchisees on my website and on there, and there's links to it in the book on that. And then it takes you through, what to look for in a franchise disclosure document, what's negotiable in the franchise agreement, what's not, what the franchise agreement's all about, what the franchise disclosure documents are all about on there. And then it takes you through the funding process to go over the different types of funding that you can get using your own money, using other people's money on that. So basically just a step-by-step walk through that whole investigation process. So if you've got a franchise that you already want, you want that particular franchise, you probably don't need me. Just grab the book, and that'll give you a good breakdown then of, what to look for, how to do it. And then at the very last chapter, I have a chapter on a couple of gentlemen who actually turned their business into a franchise. So if that's what you're looking to do, and we do that as well, I can not only find a franchise for you, but if you have a business, we can turn that into a franchise for you. And the last chapter is going to be how those gentlemen went through and decided to turn their business into a franchise and how they went about doing that.
That book sounds really valuable. I think it's something I would have needed in my earlier career because there was once I started a restaurant, 2018 or thereabout, that was supposed to be a franchise, but it's history
Yeah, I was
right
a
now.
restaurant manager for 15 years. So yeah,
Whoa.
there's plenty of good restaurants out there that are just they should be franchised. Franchising is a great way to grow exponentially if you want to grow your business. Rather than you putting the money out there to build new locations all over the U.S., you let somebody else do it for you. You're not going to get as much back on the return on that, obviously, because somebody else put their money into it. Uh,
Yeah.
but you get a good royalty fee, so it's a good income, and it changes what you do as a business owner. Your role is going to be a little bit different out there, so it can be a good idea for quite a few people if you really want to grow exponentially out there, going the franchising route.
Yeah. All right. So, looking back over your career from the engineering part to the restaurant management and everything, if you could go back to the past, maybe see your younger self, what's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
I would probably go in more into taking the entrepreneurship classes and business classes back then on that. But people say, do you have any regrets? I said, no, no regrets. Everything I've done in life has got me to the point where I am right now, and where I am right now is really fun and really fantastic. So, have I made mistakes? Yeah, I made a lot of them, but they got me to where I was. But if I was to start all over again to do it, I'd definitely go start the entrepreneurship thing quite a bit earlier, because I didn't start actually doing this until I just turned 50 on that. Now, had I done this back when I just turned like 20 or 30 or something, I'd be so much more ahead of myself, and I would have gotten to where I wanted to be a whole lot quicker. So definitely, I would say it's good to have options. And I would have, we get taught in school all the time is to, get the college degree, get a good job, and you're all set. Put money away into your 401k, and we're good to go
You're good
on
to
that one.
go.
Uh, it's great for a lot of people, but for some of us who are a little bit more uh, self-directed, a little bit more got that bug where we want to do things ourselves and for ourselves. Definitely, I would have said, take some more business classes, take some more entrepreneurship classes, and just learn about it. At least have that option out there for you.
Nice. Okay, so is there anything that you'd like to share with the audience? Probably something I've not asked a question about, but will be valuable to our audience of business owners and entrepreneurs.
Yeah, checking your business, Peter, with what your franchise is all about. There's quite a few technology franchises out there as well. If for those folks, those listeners out there that are technology oriented, we've got quite a few great technology franchises that are out there as well that are good. Again, it's good to have options, so always check into those options. Now, franchising may not be right for you, and for quite a few of the people that I work with, they while walking through the process, and they eventually like, no, I'm not touching that. Fine, that's fine. You looked at it, now you know, now you're educated on that. But for technology-minded people, there's a lot of franchises, not only in the technology field, but a lot of franchises that are embracing technology on that. We have a real estate business, for instance. that helps realtors with the picture taking. So they embrace technology because now they've got that drone out there that are taking pictures out there. So if you like doing that sort of thing, you like running the drones, like doing a lot of the electronics and the picture taking, that's a great one for that. And that's embracing the technology of today with the drones for getting nice views of the real estate and helping out real estate investors post everything online so that when people are looking at different properties to buy, they've got a great view of it. They really get a view. So think about that, and that there's the fact that there's just so many franchises that do embrace that technology or technology related. Um, or if you've got something great out there, you're a tech person out there in Peter's world of different listeners. Who knows? It may be something that you could turn into a business or a franchise as well that other franchises might be able to use, or that other people think that's a great idea. I would like to become part of that. I'd like to be a franchisee. So think about the fact that you may just turn your tech business, whatever you have out there, into a franchise.
Most times when we hear franchise, we always think of it like the usual brick and mortar and food and co. But now, when you talk about technology, can you give? You talked about the drones and taking pictures for the real estate agents and co. But can you give some other examples so people can know what they can look out for in the terms of technology franchises?
Say that again. What they can look out for?
Yeah, like some examples of technology franchises, so they'll
Oh
have an
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. So yeah, there's different ones that you can do, and most of them are going to be centered around small to medium-sized businesses who cannot have a tech person on their staff, or don't, I should say can't, but do not want to necessarily pay a tech person full time on their staff because they don't need one. So small and medium-sized businesses employing a tech person that $100,000 or so a year that knows all that about how to operate the computer systems, how to keep their phone systems up, whatever technology that they're using. They don't necessarily have that much work for any one individual person. So what you're going to be looking at there, as far as you tech folks out there who want to get into franchising, is you're going to be working with many different small to medium-sized businesses, helping them with their technology needs on that. Great systems out there. Uh, Most of the ones I work with have 100 or more franchisees out there, so they're already huge because it is a big business out there. But you'll be helping them anywhere from basic emails, basic technology, backing things up, security systems, uh, any kind of computer systems that they have, ensuring their safety and their securedness on there. Great business to get into. Again, small, medium-sized businesses. You'll work with many different ones because none of them have enough business for any one person for them to hire somebody on, and they don't want to have that extra expense.
Great. Okay, so for the listeners who have heard from you, they've learned a lot about franchising. They're curious. They maybe want to get your book on your book, Real Freedom. They want to learn about franchising on how to turn their business to a franchise. What's the best way for them to reach you and also to get your book?
You can go to my website if you want to get my book. I prefer that you go to Amazon and buy it. But if you don't want to do that, you can go to my website and you get a PDF version for free on my website. My website is franchisemaven.com. That's franchise, M-A-V as in Victor, E-N.com. You can email me your address at greg at franchisemaven.com, and I'll send you a hard copy on that. Or just pick up the phone and give me a call at 361-772-6401.
All right, so that's all right. So once this goes live, it will be on the screen. Franchisemaven.com. Your phone number also will be on the screen, 361-772-640. And yeah, so everyone can reach you and to also be in the show notes. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for sharing with us on franchising today.
Peter, I appreciate you having me, sir. Very kind of you.
Thank you. So, for the listeners, did you get any value from this episode on franchising? If you did, please share with anybody who you know it would help with. They're curious about franchising, they want to get into franchising, or like Greg said, they want to turn their business into a franchise. Share this episode with them. And if you want to be the first person to know when we share new helpful content like this for your business, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow wherever you can see us or hear us. This will be episode 93 of the podcast. We're almost getting to 100. We release one episode a week. So that means if you listen to 10 or 15 a day, you still will be done with everything till we come back next week. So till then, go through the past episodes and don't forget to keep taking your business. Bye for now.